We're not recording yet. Friends, Brian here for Yes You Can Play Guitar, and I want to have the talk. I do. I want to talk today about Nickelback and their new documentary on Netflix and addressing this whole why everybody hates Nickelback thing. Now, hear me out. I'll give you my viewpoint as someone who's been a professional musician for over 3 decades, and I'll give you my perspective on it. It'll be interesting to hear what you guys think as well. So in the documentary, of course, it goes into a very detailed history about Nickelback, their origins, getting their albums, getting financed, everything that they've been through. They delve into the whole why they're so hated thing. So apparently, you can watch the documentary. They go into more of a deep dive on it. But there's a comment by a comedian named Brian Posehn, I believe, on Colin Quinn, who is a maybe not so much well-known comedian, but he was on Saturday Night Live for a while. And he had a show on Comedy Central, and apparently that comment about Nickelback got played in the commercial for the show, and it was on rotation for many months. And it started to get into the public psyche.
Music makes people violent. Like Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.
Also, the possibility of what I call overexposure. If you are new to my channel, if you watch back at some of my other videos, especially in a lot of my reaction videos, I talk about overexposure and how it has affected me personally and my taste with music and bands. So, when a band is played constantly, sometimes some people are just kind of like, oh, I can't deal with this anymore when you feel that it's being shoved down your throat. I personally have experienced this with the band Aerosmith back in 1986. They did a remake of their hit song Walk This Way with the rap band Run DMC, which played constantly on the radio and constantly almost on every TV channel that you turn to. Even at a young age, I was watching it going, man, like, I knew of Aerosmith and I knew that they were a band from the 70s. And then all of a sudden they're everywhere. And then from there on, all you could see is Aerosmith, Aerosmith, Aerosmith. So even though Aerosmith is a fantastic band, Toys in the Attic is an amazing album, I got sick of Aerosmith from the late 80s into the 90s because they were just constantly on the radio and being played all the time. The same thing happened to me in the late 80s. I was in high school. I had a fellow in my class who was a few years older than me, and he was old enough to go into this famous venue at the city I grew up in. And he said, I'm going to go see this band. They're called the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're supposed to be the next big thing. He went and saw them the next Monday. I said, hey, Mike, how was the show? He said, oh, the band was phenomenal. And then it just seemed like after that moment, all you heard about was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I experienced it with them as well. Amazing band, but just the overexposure. Even our well-beloved Metallica. I loved Metallica in the 80s, and in bands in the 90s, I played a lot of Metallica. So now for me, I'm kind of like, cool, man. That's cool about Metallica. I just listen to so much of them. Sometimes that overexposure, it can get people. And then there's also the factor of when a band is smaller and they're kind of like, oh, this is my band, I really like them. And then if they get massive mainstream success, people are kind of like, hey, man, they were my band. I don't like that everyone likes this band now. That happened to me as well in high school. 87, I was in grade 9. I was listening to Ride the Lightning on a Walkman, a Sony Walkman, yes. Some guys came in, they said, what are you listening to? I said, I'm listening to Metallica. They're like, oh man, that stuff's crap, man. Rap is where it's at. That's what you gotta listen to. Well, sure enough, 1981 comes around. I wasn't quite out of high school yet. And those same people that were telling me to listen to rap were walking around wearing the Metallica black shirts. And I thought, isn't that interesting? As far as Nickelback goes, I learned some things in the documentary. I'm the same age as them, Canadian as well, meaning I can relate to playing all the dive bars when it's below 30 in the wintertime and horrible drives to gigs. Welcome to Canada, man. Welcome to Canada. I remember the song Leader of Men before they became really, really popular. But I also remember 2001, when How You Remind Me came out, and it was being played all the time. I remember specifically driving with my nephew, and that song came on the radio, and I went to change it, and he had a fit. He really freaked out at me. He really wanted to listen to that song. He got really upset, and I was like, dude, this song plays everywhere all the time. I remember playing in a band around that time, and we actually had a sound man. And something came up about Nickelback, and he said, "Oh, effing pickle sack." Huh. I also remember the Spider-Man song that came out around that time as well, 2001, 2002 maybe. And it played constantly on the radio and everywhere you turned on the TV. But admittedly, aside from those experiences, I did not know a lot about Nickelback, and I didn't really keep up a lot with their careers. Sometimes I'd have guitar students come in saying, "Hey, I'd like to learn this Nickelback song." Cool. CD player, listen to it. Okay. I think overexposure can kill a lot of careers. Did Nickelback ask for that? I don't know. I don't really think that they did. I think everyone who gets into a band wants to have some level of success. Do I feel bad for Chad Kroeger? No.
Hey, I'm Chad Kroeger. This is my place.
But I don't think anyone wants to be in the world's most hated band either. Yes, do I find some of the Nickelback songs are a little bit syrupy, a little bit contrived, a little bit too polished? Yes. I don't think too many people out there can argue with me with that one. Maybe you can. But as a longtime musician, some might argue somewhat accomplished. Can I look at any of the members of Nickelback and say they're not talented? No, they're all very talented musicians. And I have to admit, I recently did a little bit of Nickelback hate read. A little while ago, I was in the gym one night, working out with a friend of mine. And these three young lads were there, and they had, on the speaker in the gym, they had Nickelback cranked up. It was the song Rockstar, and they played it over and over and over. I don't even know if it was so much that Nickelback was playing, but it was the fact that they had it so loud. Like, it was crazy loud. And then they were really acting weird, like the way they were laughing and giggling. It's almost like they were tickling each other and acting really weird. Really got on my nerves during my workout. A few days later, the leader of the group of kids came in, and I kind of cornered him. I said, "Hey, man, you got to be cool to other members. I don't want to hear Nickelback being played at full blast." I guess it was the best thing I could think of at the time. But so I too am guilty of some Nickelback hate. But the reality is, and this is the God's honest truth, if Chad Kroeger called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, Brian, we need a fill-in lead guitar player for a few gigs. Are you up to it?" I'd be like, "Yes, Chad. What songs and when do you want me there?" I got thinking about this topic, and this is a video I wanted to make for some time. A year ago, a friend of mine, he wanted me to react to the song San Quentin. It was just came out by Nickelback. For all the people that hate Nickelback, it had 13 million views. Look at how many hundreds of millions of views How You Remind Me have on YouTube as well. So there are some people out there that still like Nickelback. But I did this video, and it got me really thinking about it. About Nickelback, the whole thing. You know, watching the documentary, it was really good. It's, whether you like them or not, it's a really good watch to get an insight into the music business, the ups and downs of bands with personalities, people coming, people going, some of the hardships that they go through. Of course, again, as I said, me being Canadian, me being the same age, I kind of could relate to them more through the documentary. I really didn't know a whole lot about them before that. I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth watching. Am I going to be running out and buying all the Nickelback albums tomorrow? Probably not, but I really enjoyed it. And for anyone who has any interest in the music business, or if you're a musician and you want to see what you have to go through, it's very, very interesting documentary to watch. What do you guys think? I know a lot of you probably aren't going to like this video of me putting a positive spin on Nickelback. I'm just sharing what I think and how I feel. But what do you guys think? Comment below. And again, guys, thank you for liking and subscribing. And hey, I'm even going to ask you guys, do you think we should try and interview Chad Kroeger on this channel? Might be an interesting interview. Have a few things in common. Remember, guys, practice hard, but practice smart, and we'll see you soon.